All right, so in part one, we started off this 3-part video series, and I asked you if I handed you a piece of paper, and on that piece of paper were written down a series of steps that if you took them, if you executed on all the tasks on that list over the course of up to 18 months, and by the end of that 18 months, you could achieve whatever your tactical definition of success was, whether it's growing your email list by 10,000, 100,000 subscribers, whether it's generating hundreds of thousands in unique visitors coming to your website, or like my goal, which I'm sharing the journey with you in these videos of how exactly we're achieving it, which is to grow your business to $5 million in monthly recurring revenue. Well, would you take that deal? Would you make that trade? So part one was focused on giving you a little bit of a definition and foundation in terms of like this trading philosophy, because it is my fundamental belief that you can achieve anything that you want in business and in life so long as you're willing to pay the price. And the price comes in the form of a series of decisions, a series of trades that you make, in terms of the trade being the input of you're investing something, time or money or some sort of other resource. All right, and then you get some sort of an output from that. You can think about trades happening on a macro scale as well as on a micro scale, going step by step. And in the first video too, we also talked about, once you have set your tactical definition, your goal for the desired output that you want, you work backwards from that. You're able to start defining, and the path or pathways begin to illuminate themselves in terms of the actions that you need to take in order to actually get there. Now, in today's part two of this video series, I want to show you exactly how to create your step-by-step pathway to success using financial modeling and systematic execution. So the promise of this video is that you watch until the end. You're going to see the practical how behind the strategy. So for instance, I want to tell you about one spreadsheet that really transformed everything for me. And that was a big reason why starting and relaunching the business in 2019, why we were able to achieve such foundational success, even though the business model, as I'll discuss as well, even though the business model wasn't exactly what we needed, it wasn't the right vehicle that we needed to get to 100K. In the summer of 19, I told you in the first video how we relaunched the business and we started offering our done for you sales funnel service. And within a month of launching, I, again, was kind of had my back against the wall. The company needed to generate revenue. We were coming off of a year where we were only doing and only selling info products and books and courses, which was just so foundationally just amazing and fun to do. But, and it was great. We generated 48K revenue for the first year that we did that. And it probably would have continued to grow, but moving back to New York, one of the most expensive places in the world, you can imagine that I and the business needed to generate more revenue. So we relaunched the service at that time. And then I did the simple exercise. Had I been thinking a little bit further ahead, perhaps being more strategic, as I'm being a little more so now in hindsight, I would have done this before actually doing it. Regardless, I did it within a matter of weeks after we launched. And what it was, a financial model that very closely tracked everything that we ended up achieving. In part, I believe that we were able to achieve what we did because I understood at a more granular and timeline-based level, like what were the inputs that were needed that was going to produce the ultimate output that, the financial model was showing. Because at that time, I didn't even think about the higher goal of getting to, 100K monthly recurring revenue, which we completely blew past in 2021. At the time though, again, I was just like, let's just get to the next 5K, let's get to the next 10K in monthly recurring revenue. Like that was success. So by the time the following year, when we broke 60K MRR for the first time, I was like, God damn, how'd we do that? Just because I had my head down and I was too busy working to really notice. I was like, wow, that just happened. So that was a cool feeling, but ideally you don't want to just be Forrest Gumping your way towards success. I think there's something to be said for just incremental improvements, where you just have your head down and just focus on delivering a great service and executing on your marketing priorities too. That's great. But where do you want to get the business to? Okay. And just having as much forethought, insight in terms of what are those inputs that are required and what will you be doing at X time or X month, and how does that match up with reality over time? because when we made our financial model, we just took a spreadsheet. I did a cost of goods analysis, so I could see like what would be our gross profit. I added in, net expenses and everything, so we see our estimated net profit also. And I projected out from the middle of the summer until December, and I did optimistic, conservative, and realistic assumptions in there. So like if we were growing, at a faster than expected clip, at a, if things went, sideways or they just weren't going as fast, what's the pessimistic, and then middle of the road, which I classified as the realistic. And it turned out, some months we would actually exceed those expectations in the following 6 months, and others not. And we would just kind of adjust based on our inputs, and maybe we would push a little bit harder, send an extra email or two or a promotion or something like this. And we actually, I think, exceeded expectations. So we broke 30K monthly recurring revenue before the end of the year. And that was a huge achievement. That was better than I even expected. The financial model, though, for the most part, ended up very closely tracking what we achieved, and it just gave peace of mind. It ended up also feeling a little bit more like a game where we were just kind of racing against ourselves from the previous month. And that made it kind of fun. Plus, it gave me, and I think it can give you, should you do this exercise, just do it. Like, you might not think like, oh, math is not my strong suit. Dude, it's division and addition and multiplication. I mean, this is elementary grade math. And like, spreadsheets are not the most complicated thing. I am not a spreadsheet genius by any means. So it will give you, though, a sense of control and a sense of direction. And it's just kind of exciting because, like, it's always fun to do, oh, well, what if we drag it all the way to the right, for 3 years? Oh, look at that. We're a $1 trillion company. Isn't that pretty cool? So it is a fun exercise. And most importantly, it helps to show you, what are those inputs that are needed in terms of your marketing funnel to achieve the financial results that you're looking for. Moreover, this financial model that you have in this financial projection spreadsheet, it's sort of like a business plan in numbers, okay? And it helps you to focus not on next month or even like the big picture that, again, I get it, man. Like, there were many times where 10K MRR, or even 5K MRR just felt like a lot, which, let alone 20 or 30K monthly recurring revenue, it feels just like crazy. Like you see these videos on YouTube, you probably hear me talking about it like it's, easy, like it's not a big thing. And kind of that's how I've come to think about it, only because like I've done it multiple times at this point. We've grown to 125 monthly recurring revenue, as I was explaining in the past video in more detail. So it feels easy once you have achieved it, but just know that like that feeling of like, oh my God, it's like it's up there. Like, try to just discount that emotion and just know that like if you are giving people in the marketplace something that they want, they're going to want to give you money for it. Okay. And if also, of course, you're able to get in front of them. So just to come back here to the point for a moment, the spreadsheet is going to help to keep you focused, not on next month or not on that, lofty, oh my God, it's so far away. It's like, so just, I can't even imagine long-term goal. Instead, it's going to keep you grounded on, okay, what do my inputs need to be for me and the company to achieve what we projected we would achieve for this month? Okay. It just brings you into the present, because it's realistically meant to divide your goal into something that is more manageable. Okay. Structured over time. All right. So again, it helps you by saying, okay, well, we need this amount of traffic. We expect to see this level of opt-in rate, this many leads coming down to the bottom of the funnel, like booking calls. And then of those calls that are booked, we expect to see, X% who actually end up buying from us. Therefore, you can track that against reality. What was the previous month like? How is this month going so far? And it also, of course, sets you up for growth by the end of that month for the next month. But again, this principle of working backwards, the numbers that we see in the spreadsheet for a given month, they're showing your funnel as I'm describing at each specific level: traffic, impressions at the top, email opt-ins and leads in the middle, sales, renewals at the bottom, renewals in terms of subscriptions that are reoccurring. And it forces you to ask the key question. It begs the question, well, if these are the numbers, then what actions must be happening in order to achieve X traffic, in order to achieve X number of opt-ins or sales happening at the bottom of the funnel, Or for example, if there's an assumption that the sales rate is going to be at this, it's going to be 40%, but instead it's 30% in reality, it forces you to ask the question, at least it should, because again, I'm giving you this framework, this mindset, okay? If reality does not match the expectations, the answer in fact is the question. The question being, what do I need to do different? What do I need to change? Okay, because just standing still and doing the same thing, it's not achieving the result that you want. And that's why you have to come up with some sort of a hypothesis, make a little tweak, make a little change that you think is meaningful. And okay, maybe then you begin to achieve 35% close rate instead of, which is closer to 40, not quite. And then eventually you can get it to 40%. But again, you can go even deeper and say, what series of actions where if I took them, that it would become unreasonable if our conversion rate did not move from 30% to 40%. For example, you could say if we change our traffic source, if we somehow refine the traffic through more education and lead nurturing before we make the ask, before we send them to our buy page or our booking page, would that make it then how much more unreasonable, or to what extent would it become unreasonable that the close rate would not then be significantly higher, for instance? Can you write additional emails? Can you do an additional promotion? Can you have some sort of a new special promotion for the leads that fall out? What do you need to do to move that number from 30% to 40%? So again, in a way, the financial projection, you're just looking at the one column for this month, you're comparing against reality, and that is essentially your business plan for the month. Now, to give you a real life example, as well as a fundamental business truth, one of the biggest success factors that Grobo had in terms of like wind in our sales was that when I launched our done for you sales funnel service, which then became the offer that we sell today, which is the on-demand instant marketing fulfillment team with 13 skill sets, no hiring headaches, no management, just delegate whatever you want through the Grobo app and we get it done for you. One of the biggest success factors in terms of wind in our sales that we had going for us was we had relevant traffic that was aligned with what we were selling. Early on, it was just aligned with sales funnels. Like we were considered an authority and still are in the niche of sales funnels. What are sales funnels? What different types of sales funnels? High ticket sales funnels, examples of sales funnels, templates for sales funnels, and so on and so forth. In fact, one of our top lead magnets that grew our list by thousands over years was our sales funnel checklist. So this, in a large way, meant that people who were on our list, they were already primed to associate us and were naturally just interested in, for their own benefit, in the topic of sales funnels and of growing their business. So therefore, the principle at work, if you offer something people want and you have a way to reach them, in this case, traffic, an email list, then you will always win. But without those two things, it's not going to be possible. All right. So if distribution is a key issue for you, then you want to study others who have solved it. And back then, distribution was not an issue for us at all. All right. So it is more of an issue for us now, especially, and it's really ironic because our service has never been better than it is today, just in terms of like how quickly we can turn around projects and tasks for our clients, in terms of like just how it's just economically structured and just the organization of the team and accountability and all this cool stuff. And the tech enabled component where we have this project management software that can be white labeled. It's very, very cool and it works really, really well. But distribution has been an issue for us because AI, the last 2 years at the time of this video, has sort of upended everything. We'll talk more about this in a second. But basically, it resulted in us, like so many other business websites, in getting less traffic. So as a result, I'm doing exactly what I'm prescribing for you to do, which is, okay, you got to upskill. You got to go and learn from people who've already solved the problem. So I'm looking at, for example, Dan Koh, Alex Hormozi, Neil Patel, viralcoach.com, and others. And I'm just learning, okay, to succeed through other channels like social media and ads, what are the action steps that we need to take? And I'm just kind of like downloading all that information into my brain. Because again, one of the inputs itself is taking the action of going through a little bit of discomfort in order to learn. And you can learn simply by watching. You can learn simply by reading. All right. And I can tell you, because I think it's relevant for probably 50 to 80% of the people watching this, that in terms of inputs that are going to help you achieve whatever level of distribution that you want to be successful, it seems to always come down to and this is over many years, like even in the face of AI, but it's quality content delivered authentically and consistently over a long period of time. That's it. That's it. And the packaging and the vehicle for that might change, but the principle of that, it endures. It really, really endures. And the reason why it endures is because, again, you're giving people something that they want. Okay, you're giving people something that they want, and therefore, when you partner with, even if it's not just Google's algorithm, for example, because Google is just kind of using AI mode and putting AI overviews, so you're getting less traffic. But in the case of other algorithms, not search algorithms per se, but algorithms like Facebook's newsfeed algorithm, Instagram's algorithm, TikTok, and so on, YouTube's algorithm, you want them to show your stuff. How do you do that? You give people what they want, right? You just simply understand what people want. So we've got that principle nailed down. In other words, if marketing inputs are good, you are guaranteed to succeed. But we're making one assumption here. And the assumption is that you are selling something where you're delivering on the promise that your marketing is actually making. Okay. If you are not selling something that fulfills on the marketing promise, you're going to face major hurdles, and your financial model and projection, it's just going to fall apart. Okay. So as a service business, if there is any service component to your marketing, and even if there isn't, service, it's very analogous to, like, if you're selling info products, if you're selling physical products, is the quality right? Is it of substance? Is it what you promised? Is it, actually going to help your customer get whatever the result is that you're saying that they will get? Will they actually fundamentally get the thing that you say you're going to physically, or just, deliver to their inbox? Because otherwise it's not going to work well. You have to get the basics right. And that is one of the most critical foundational assumptions for your growth model to actually work. But assuming that is true, and that's a big assumption, that's up to you to make sure it's true. Assuming that's true, it's simply a matter of figuring out the optimum channels for top of funnel traffic. Because once you figure that out, again, the whole funnel is going to light up like a Christmas tree. You're making a promise, you're keeping it, you're making a profit off of each transaction, each trade. You are bound to start seeing compounding results over time, and round we go, just reinvesting profits, and you're going to be achieving bigger and bigger outputs each month financially. So again, to sort of recap the lesson here, you want to be focusing on inputs and measuring it against the projected outputs from the spreadsheet that we put together, okay? Because that spreadsheet each month, that is your one column in a spreadsheet business plan. And the more that you can understand what specific actions this month will enable you to hit your numbers, for example, 20 pieces of content, 5,000 cold emails, ads being shown to 30,000 people, 50 warm follow-ups, leads being nurtured through an email automation, for example, creating a new type of an offer promotion, a new type of email nurture sequence, whatever it is, the beauty is that it is all controllable. And while you can't control if someone buys or doesn't on an individual basis, you can maximize the probability over time that the overall system and your sales funnel will convert. You can control if you publish content and send emails in the top and middle of your funnel, which in turn actually just leads to action happening or not at the bottom of your funnel. But most likely, again, if you drive buying decisions, you're going to be driving sales. And if you're not driving sales, but you are driving buying decisions, well, then there's something wrong, and you got to back up a level and understand what that problem is. So focus on the inputs you can control, because ultimately those will directly influence and correlate with the outputs. Think of it as, the outputs will take care of themselves. Pay attention to playing the field, and the scoreboard will take care of itself. I think that might be Charlie Munger saying. So part 3 is coming up. I'll tell you about that in a second. But this systematic approach that I'm giving to you here in this video series, this is the exact framework that I used, although in a more disorganized manner, and it's what I would have advised my younger self to use to actually shave off a lot of time. But this is the systematic approach that I used to scale Grobo to $1.2 million in revenue in 2021, and since gone on to become a multi-million-dollar company in terms of aggregate revenue. Now, these videos, obviously, they highlight a key problem that you might be already just kind of like thinking about in the back of your head, which is that, yeah, we're talking about inputs and outputs, Matt, and I get that. Conceptually, it makes a lot of sense, but fundamentally, it's going to fall into your hands and be on your shoulders to, for example, create content, manage the campaigns, execute consistently, to hire and qualify and train people to do this, who hopefully are bringing their own set of skills and experience to the table. That's a lot. That's a lot. It could also be, if you're hiring, could be very expensive. It could take a lot of time. I've heard so many stories of people just wasting time with the hiring and managing portions, rather than just like, let's execute. Like, let's get a landing page up. Let's write some copy. Let's write an email sequence. Let's start publishing blog articles. Let's get the marketing flywheel spinning, right? So that's a huge part of why I created what Grobo is currently offering today. It's reliable execution without the day-to-day task. It's reliable execution without day-to-day tasks and projects, bogging you down. You focus just on high-level strategy and doing whatever it is that you do best in your business, for your customers, for your clients, or for the business itself. And you delegate the rest to us in terms of your marketing execution, and we get it done for you. So again, what Grobo gives you is a complete marketing team that handles execution while you focus, again, on the strategy, the numbers, maybe like in the spreadsheet, like we talked about. And Grobo, we can help you to execute your marketing plan and just help you realize results far faster than you would if it was all on your shoulders or all in your hands, or if you had to, hire an expensive team to do it all for you. And we work with agencies and SaaS businesses, coaches, consultants, e-commerce, and you can even white label our services too, as some marketing agencies love about our service. So with Grobo, again, you're getting an all-in-one team. There's no long-term contracts, and you can get started for a fraction of the price of what it would cost you to hire a team on your own. So check it out if you'd like to learn more at grobo.com. Part 3 in this video series coming up, which will probably be live by this time you see this video, is how to deal with unexpected changes and obstacles that will inevitably come up and potentially block your progress and throw your plan off. It's what I call ex machina, and I'm going to tell you exactly how you deal with these unexpected changes that can, again, break your whole model and throw you off track and just be like a huge distraction. So we'll talk about that. Part 3, the third video coming up.